Today, we're going to talk about how you take charge of your own financial trajectory. And this is about the American dream. How do we, the dream blueprint? How does this system work? We're going to tell you about that in this presentation, in this training this morning. So basically, here today, we're going to see how you can avoid taxes. How do you avoid paying taxes? The other thing is protect your assets. And then the third thing is build tax-free generational wealth. Those are the key things you will have today. So today you're going to understand how the top 1% do these three things: avoid paying taxes, protect your assets, and then build tax-free generational wealth. The other thing is you can do all of these things using the tax code. How do they do these things using the tax code is what we're going to talk about today. So today, one thing I want to warn you about is this presentation is going to impact you in a very, very huge way. There are going to be concepts here and ideas that will completely change the way you think. They will save you on taxes and they will help you build true wealth and change your life forever if you can implement some of the things we're talking about here. And today we're going to go step by step so you can learn. Why did you, I would like to know why you really registered for this webinar today. I need to know. It's going to be interactive. I want us to be interactive. I want us to tell me, answer questions. I want this to be something where you people are interacting with me. I want to know why you registered for this webinar today. Why did you come here? So I can answer your questions. You need to tell me, send it in the chat. Tell me, maybe you came here, and if we had over 200 people who registered today and only a few of you showed up, why did you show up? You showed up because there was something really important that you wanted to do. Maybe it's because your tax bill is too high. Your CPA, you have probably outgrown your CPA, and you are the one basically giving your CPA all the strategies that he used to help you. So you are not the strategist. He doesn't understand what you're doing. Maybe coming here because you know some of these things that you've learned, and even your CPA doesn't understand it. You're the one giving him. That's why you're here. Maybe you're tired of hearing that the wealthy do not pay any taxes. Yet you're under the weight of what? Excessive tax bill, year in and year out. And maybe you want to educate yourself. Maybe you just really want to educate yourself about taxes. Maybe that's the reason. You want to take control of your own destiny. You want to get out of the rat race. Those may be some of the key reasons you're here. Just tell me in the chat so I understand why we're here. I'll be giving you some tips for the webinar. This is very important. I want you to turn on your videos. I want to be interacting with you guys. We have to be speaking to one another. I want you to be speaking with me. I know some of you are in offices, but if you're in a place where you can turn on your video, let's speak face to face. I also want you to be engaged. I want you to be talking to me. I want you to get your workbooks out. I want you to get ready. Take a pen because you're going to have things to write down, and I want you to write them down. I want you to basically close the rest of your tabs. Some people get distracted by so many tabs that are coming on and off on their screens. Close those tabs. Put your phone on do not disturb so that you're engaged. Some of the things you hear from here today are going to change a lot. They are going to change your life. They are going to change the way you think about taxes, the way you think about the American dream. So I want you to put your phones on do not disturb mode. Follow the instructions that I'll be giving you, and they will help the understanding so that you can make informed decisions. I know in your professions, time is scarce. Let's make the best of the time we have here. And I'm not going to waste any of your time. We're going to be in real activity. Whatever brought you here, it's time to get answers. If you are here, I want you to drop me a note. Tell me, I am all in. I am all in. If you're ready to stop that rat race, I want you to say, I am all in. Guys, I need us to be engaging. Tell me, I am all in. I am all in. I feel I'm paying just too much in taxes. Patrick, that's Patrick. I hear you, George. I hear you, Patrick. I hear you, Anne. I hear you, Evaristus. I hear all of you. Tell me, I am all in. If you're ready to get out of that rat race. One more thing I want to talk about. You might just be wondering if I can help you. Who is this guy who thinks he can help me? Who is this guy? Even if you are a W-2, you're not a business owner. Because some people have been told that because you're W-2, you basically cannot save on taxes. That's a fallacy. Even if you don't own a business, even if you don't invest in real estate, even if you are a high W-2 earner, even if you don't know where to start, I will help you. I will help you. This is my commitment to you today. I will help you. Me and my team of experts will help you. That's our commitment. Now, who is this guy? I want to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Charles Njoya. I'm a CPA. I'm a chartered accountant as well in the UK. I'm a mainstream certified tax strategist, tax advisor. I'm a former PwC tax director. What is PwC? PwC is one of the big fours. Big fours in consulting, in audits, in tax. We are one of the largest. PwC is one of the largest big four companies in the world. I worked for PwC for 17 years, and I was a director in PwC. I paid my dues. And within PwC, we work for the top 1%, largest companies in the world, the wealthy people. And what did we do? The only thing these people are interested in is getting wealthier. So when you work for them, your role is to help them get wealthier. And that's what we did. I did for 17 years. I am a CPA. I am a certified tax strategist, and I'm a wealth coach. I run this company called CHN Advisors, and CHN Advisors is a tax and estate strategy firm. That's what we do. We help higher income earners. We help people who are tired of overpaying in taxes. That's our role. We work across the United States. Our clients are spread all over the United States. But our office is located in the Woodlands near Houston, Texas. Now, that's a little bit about me. So here are some facts to consider. Some key things to consider. The top 3% of high income earners in America, they pay zero in taxes. This is not me saying it. This is the IRS. These are data from the IRS. So when you look at that, if the top 3% are paying zero in taxes, what do these people have in common? We're going to talk to you about it. Now, Wall Street Journal has this. They say that 83%, this is Forbes magazine, 83% of high income earners don't have a tax plan. I'm sure many of us don't even have a tax plan. Now, taxes take about 1/3 of your income if you're a high income earner. If you have something that's taking away, your wealth is in the taxes. Your wealth is in the taxes. If you have something that's taking away 1/3 of your income, you want to plan for it. The middle class do not have a tax plan. That's what we're talking about. The middle class is a fancy name to put all the people who are paying the burden of America are in the middle class. The top 1% are helping grow the economy. The middle class is helping pay the expenses of the economy. And we're going to talk about that. Now, this is Forbes magazine. Now, think about it. Another thing, the IRS is currently hiring 87,000 new agents. These agents, this is to take care of what we call the Inflation Reduction Act of 2021. And the focus is on high income earners. High income earners, again, is that people who are called the middle class. 87,000 new agents. Why are they doing this? Again, it's the middle class. They're focusing on high income earners, the middle class. So the middle class is the screwed class. Think about it. We are in a capitalist economy. There are two sets of people in a capitalist economy. The people, and that's the only thing you find in capitalism. You're either being screwed or you are screwing somebody. That's the thing. In a capitalist economy, the government owns nothing. The government doesn't own the land. The government doesn't own the schools. The government doesn't own the roads. Real estate, all these high skyscrapers you see in America, the government doesn't own it. In our country, in America, we don't have a national oil company that belongs to the government. We don't have an airline company that belongs to the government. We don't have airports that belong to the government. Do you think the government doesn't need bridges? They need all these things, but this is capitalism. They have two tools that they use to make those things happen. They have two tools. So when we are in this economy, we are in an economy where the government makes the rules. We play the game. We play the game. And if we don't play the game, Someone is going to play the game, and that person is going to win over us. That is where the tax code comes in. So Congress, look at this. Congress promised the IRS. They gave them $80 billion in order to hire 87,000 new agents. And the IRS, which is the IRS, basically is an institution that is there to implement what is the requirements of the tax code. The IRS is there to make sure that we follow the rules. And if we understand how we play the game, we can avoid the IRS. So Congress gave the IRS $80 billion. And then the IRS promised Congress they are going to collect $200 billion in return to fund the Inflation Reduction Act. America currently has debts of about $35 trillion. Our debt has multiplied by almost 2 in the last 10 years. It has multiplied by 2 in the last 10 years. The government cannot continue just increasing the debt of the United States. What do? Whenever there is a bill that is coming out of Congress, that bill has to be able to sponsor itself. And that's the reason the Inflation Reduction Act, when it came out, they had to look for a way in order to avoid increasing our debts. Now, so what does that mean? It means that we are going to be going through a lot of audits coming forth in the following months. We are going to see a lot of audits. And that is why you have to make sure you're working with the right people. Okay, now having said that, this is all on the middle class. I'm not letting anyone. So basically, what it means is that the IRS will come after your money. They believe that you're not paying enough. The middle class is not paying enough. We need to get more money from the middle class in order to fund the Inflation Reduction Act. Come after your money. I don't know about you, but I'm not letting anybody take my money. And that's why we're here. We're here to learn what can we do so that we are not being screwed by the top 1%. We're here to learn what can we do so that we can win in this game. That's why we're here. So basically, another thing. So what is the solution for this? What is the solution? You have 3 things. 3 things are the solution for making you meet all the 3 things I told you before. The first thing is you have to structure. You have to structure your estates. You have to structure the way you're organized. The second thing is you have to structure. And the third thing is you have to structure. Structure is everything. Structure is the reason the top 1%, the smart Americans, they all pay 0 in taxes. There is nothing in this economy. There is nothing about taxes that you cannot do if you're structured. Remember, structure is everything. It is the reason the top 1% pay 0 in taxes. They never pay a dime to third party in the case of a litigation. Go and sue any of these top boys. You will spend all your money, you will become bankrupt, and you'll get nothing from him because of structure. The third thing, structure is the reason the top 1%, the smart Americans, are building crazy estate for their future generations tax-free. It's because of structure. So the game is around 3 things. You want to structure for asset protection, you want to structure for tax mitigation, and you want to structure for wealth building. The government has stated 2 tools. When you do them right, you're going to meet all of these things we're talking about. Number 1 is your tax return. Your tax return is everything. Most people do not understand the power of a tax return. Your access to wealth in America is the tax return. Let me tell you, America is not built like most countries in the world. Remember what I told you before? America is a capitalist nation. Capitalism means the government doesn't own anything. They make the rules, we play the game. The government makes the rules, we play the game. And if you don't understand how to play the game, the people who understand how to play the game are called the wealthy people. These wealthy people that are making decisions in this country, whether you like it, you don't like it, the way it works. The government needs roads, infrastructure, it needs real estate, it needs to be able to sell its oil. It needs to be able to do all these things. But as I told you before, the government doesn't own any of these things. When you buy land in America, you own the land, including the subsoil. In most of the world, when you buy land, you get the land, you get whatever is on it, and the subsoil belongs to the government. That's not the case with a capitalist economy. And some people have tried, when you hear this concept, oh, socialism, the opposite of capitalism is called communism. What is communism? Communism means that if you go to Russia, the government owns everything. That's the opposite of capitalism. The government owns everything, and then they ration those things to the people. People work and then they ration. The aim of communism is that people are all the same. In America, capitalism means that the government gives you the access to build your own economy. Government only grows because we have built little economies. Everybody has his own economy. And when you do that, the government is giving you the rules in the tax code in order to do those things that you want to do. We are the largest capital economy in the world. What does that mean? It means that America gives you access to capital to do those things that you want to do. And when you do use the capital that's available to you, you buy those, you implement those things, you don't pay taxes. You just don't pay taxes. You can do it. Everybody can do it. You just don't pay taxes. So you pay taxes in America because you're not doing those things that the government wants you to do. The government incentivizes you through the tax code. That is the game. That's why structure becomes crazily important. So what is the trifecta? I told you about structure. The question you are probably asking yourself is, what structure is Charles talking about? How can I know how to structure myself the way Charles is talking? And I'm going to show you the structure. There's something called the trifecta. Some people call it the T structure. What is it? It is the structure used by the top 1% in America. And the next slides I'm going to show you, if for anything, you have to pay attention. Listen, learn, understand the slide, because you are not going to get everything out of the slide, but you will understand that there is a process in America to paying zero in taxes, building crazy generational wealth for future generation, and protecting your assets. That's what we're going to talk about now. So the first thing here, there is something we hear all the time. It's called the trust. The trust is the biggest kept secret of the wealthy in America. The biggest kept secret of the wealthy. And most of us, we always hear about trust and we think it's for the wealthy. It's for the other people. It's not for us. Because they're happy to make us understand, to make us feel that it's just for them. So what is a trust? Let me give you a simple definition of a trust. A trust is a vehicle. When I call it a vehicle, it's an instrument that basically allows you to make money, you keep the money, and then you transfer the money to future generations, to infinity, to your great grandchildren without paying taxes, avoiding taxes. You build wealth, you keep the wealth, and then you can transfer it using a trust. So the foundation of your estate, from what you call a legal standpoint, is what you call a trust. Most people think that, okay, I don't need a trust, it's for the wealthy. But everything we have, the trust is here to make you really build on that wealth that you want to get. So why is this trust so important? So when you think about trust, the foundation of your estate is not any type of trust. You need a revocable living trust. That's what I call an RLT. You need a revocable living trust. What is a revocable living trust? How is it different from the other trusts? Revocable means that a trust, you can change, modify that trust while you're alive. Because there are three elements to a trust. There is the owner of the trust, which is you. You own your own trust. If you're married, it's the co-ownership of your trust. Then you have the trustee. Who is the trustee? The trustee is that person who is managing the trust. Is that person. And you, while you're alive, With a living trust, you are the co-trustees. You and your spouse, you're the co-trustees of your family trust. Or you could be the co-trustee, you could be the trustee of your own trust. And then, because you're not guaranteed to live forever, you always want to have what we call a successor trustee. Meaning, when you are not there, the day you become incapacitated, what happens? That successor trustee immediately implements the trust. And that successor trustee can be a company, it can be an institution, or it can be an individual that you trust. Your priest, your pastor, or somebody that you trust. You make them your trustee. The trustee is the custodian of your trust. He is the person who is going to manage the assets within the trust for the benefit of who? The beneficiary. You design your own beneficiaries. That is a big advantage of the trust. The second thing about a trust is that a trust does not go through probate. For those of you who are here who understand the concept of probate court in America is one of the most difficult things that's going to happen to us when maybe one of our spouses passes away. When somebody passes, you don't have access. Everything, your assets are frozen, your bank accounts are frozen until the estate is approved by somebody called a probate judge. And that thing can take years for it to go through. That's why you see some wealthy people, they die because they died intestate. What happens? They have to wait. They have to go through GoFundMe to even bury them because they don't have access to their money. You avoid that with a trust. And the trust allows you to transfer your wealth to the next generation and organize. For example, I have a special needs child. The only way I can make sure that child is going to live far after I'm gone is by structuring that thing called my trust. That is the power of a trust. If you're with me, say yes. I want you to say yes. I don't want to be speaking alone. Guys, say yes. If this is making sense, I need you. I want to see you guys responding here. Yes, yes, yes. I need it. I need it. Thank you. I need you guys to be with me. Yes. Thank you, David. Thank you, George. Thank you, Grant. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mandar. Thank you, Kwabena. I love that. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. We are here to communicate. And this, I know it makes sense. That's why I told you, you have to put everything on hold. Because today, it's a mind-changing program. Now, let's proceed. So now we've talked about a trust. So the trust is the foundation of your estate from a legal standpoint. The other thing about a trust is that the trust is going to be that thing that helps you protect, is going to give you privacy around your assets. People don't get to know who owns those assets. There's something called anonymity. Anonymity means your name is not out there as the owner of that skyscraper, as the owner of that apartment building. Your name is not out there. And when people don't know who you are, what you own, they are less likely to sue you. It's an add-on on asset protection. Now, the next thing, yes, okay. The next thing is the foundation of your estate from a wealth building standpoint. Remember, the first one was about legal standpoint. This is your foundation from a wealth building standpoint. What is it? It's your personal income tax return, the 1040. Even if you are a billionaire and you own different businesses, they are all different types of tax returns. All of them will flow down to your personal income tax return. And what that document does for all of you here, I'm sure many of you here are real estate investors, you buy property, you do a lot of stuff, or you buy businesses. Whatever you want to acquire in America, remember, I told you that you need two things in America to make wealth. The wealth building machine, the foundation of capitalism is in two things. Number one is your personal income tax return. That income tax return is going to determine how much you can use of other people's money. Because you build wealth in America by leveraging debt. When you leverage debt in America, you don't pay taxes. Wealth in America is in debt. You save yourself and then you lose it to leverage to acquire assets. The wealthiest people in America are the most indebted people. And the only way you have access to debts is by showing a tax return that is properly made, that shows that you can afford that debt. So you build wealth on the back of debt. Are we talking? Are we talking? Guys, I need you here. Encourage me. I need that encouragement. Talk to me. If this is making sense, yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I need you to tell me, because as we are going, I need to take notes. We have taken time to make sure that we're giving you value today. So when you take your tax return and then you go out there and then you give it to someone who doesn't understand where you're going, who never even speaks to you, he doesn't understand what is happening. What does that mean? It means that person, you just gave your whole American dream to someone who has no idea about what that means. Tax return has to be prepared not only by a CPA, but once you have reached a certain level, you are looking for strategists who is going to meet your vision, who is going to understand how these things will work with your intended lenders in order to give you. I'm sure many of you here you make money and then you take your tax return, you want to buy something that you think you can easily afford. They ask you for 2 years of your tax return, and then they tell you can't afford it. Even though you know very well that I am able to afford this, but because your taxes are poorly prepared, they are not structured in a way for you to meet that requirement, to meet your intended goal, you cannot access it. If you're here and you're a member, tell me, yes, yes, I know this, I know this. Tell me, yes, yes, I've heard this, I've been part of this, I know what you're talking about. Now, the next thing is, I told you there are 2 things. So that first thing is your tax return. It gives you access to wealth. The second thing is something that we take for granted. I've met so many people out there who tell me that, Charles, I only buy my things cash. You cannot build wealth cash in the United States. It does not work. In America, when you have that tax return, when you have an income, because there are 3 stages to wealth building. 3 stages. Number 1, you have to generate income. You cannot start talking about wealth if you're not generating income. In America, all they need is that you have a job. You have something that's generating income. Depending on how much you're generating as income, it will determine how much you can get in terms of assets. So when you have a job, the next thing, so now you're generating income. Once you generate income, this is one of the things that most immigrants, 99.99% of immigrants, they do so well. When we come here, we come with a dream. We quickly look for what we want to do and we start making money. And once you make money, the next step to wealth building is that thing called what? You start acquiring assets, asset acquisition. Number 1 was income generation. You generated income and then you now went to asset accumulation. You buy that beautiful car you wanted to buy. You buy that nice house and you're living in that great house. That is called asset accumulation. When you start accumulating assets, that's where we start making our errors. Most of us who are here, who are immigrants, we start making errors with the type of assets that we acquire. First of all, when you start making money, the next thing you see through your door all sorts of letters from banks, from credit institutions telling you you have access to credit. Those credits are not meant for Louis Vuitton bags. They are not meant for buying all sorts of things that are they are meant for investing, not for expending. You don't use them to expend. You take loans in America to build wealth with it. That is why the second thing, so now I told you about 3 things: income generation, asset accumulation, and then now the third thing is you want to protect those assets that you've acquired. You acquire assets and then you need to protect them. Wealth is not in income. Income is not wealth. Let me repeat this. Income is not wealth. Make $2 million, $10 million a year on every year for 10 years. If you've not converted those incomes if you've not leveraged them to build wealth, The day you leave that job or the day you fall sick, you are broke. Wealth is your ability to access income, to access money. And wealth is in assets. That's why a simple definition for wealth is your net assets. And I'm going to bust your bubble now. Income pays a lot in taxes. The tax code tells you that the higher your income, the higher the bracket you're getting into. The higher your income, the higher your tax bracket. But they don't tell you about wealth because income pays a lot in taxes when you're a higher income earner. That's why I see a lot of clients come to me and they say, Charles, I've made money to a point where I don't want to make money no more because the more I'm making, the more taxes they're taking. So I don't want to even get work. I see that a lot in IT. I see a lot of people coming telling me that. So basically, the key here, what I'm saying is that wealth does not pay taxes. You are not paying taxes on your wealth unless you get to a certain level. We'll talk about that. But you don't pay taxes on wealth. You pay taxes on income because the taxes on wealth are being basically transferred to the middle class. Those people who are using your assets are the ones who are going to pay your taxes. So again, the second thing I wanted to talk to you about in addition to the 1040 is something called your credit score. Your credit score is so important. So when you have good credit, so don't play with your credit. Your credit score and your tax return will give you anything in America. I repeat, the credit score and your income will give you access to everything. Most people play with credit score. Your credit should be something that you're watching on a daily basis, making sure you don't mess up your credit. And if you're here and your credit is messed up, talk. We can help you also adjust that. Make sure that you start monitoring your credit because that is your gateway to building your American dream. Thank you. If we are together, say, hey, yay, yay. I want yay, yay, yay on the platform. Tell me yes, 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 yes. And as we're going, if you have questions, note those questions down. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the encouragement. Thank you. This tells me that we're together. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I'm listening. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's go to the next thing. Now, on the trifecta, this is the T structure. On the right side, you want to divide your estate into two. You see the line there. It is showing that you're dividing your estate into two. On the right side of the trifecta, you have something called assets. Assets is on the right side of your T structure. What is an asset? An asset is anything that is considered a passive activity. Passive activity means that you are not working day in, day out in that activity. It is that thing that you've kept there and it's generating money for you while you're sleeping. You're sleeping, it's making money. And when you think about that, we're going to give a list of assets. Assets are those things that are, asset is equivalent to cash flow. They give you cash flow, they are passive activity, they make you money while you're sleeping. So when you're creating income, you're trying to generate assets with them. So on the left side of your T structure, you have operations. What is operations? Operations is anything that I'm basically putting my effort, I'm working hours. When you wake up, you say, I'm going to clock in. When you clock in, you clock out. The only way you're making money in operations is by you working hours, putting in hours to work. That is what you call operations. Operations is your active activity. Active activity is called operations. You are working hard to make the money here. Now, you've divided. Now, on your active activity side, you have this thing called your what? Your W-2. Most people start on a W-2. That's the most thing. And when I see, why is W-2 important? Most people have their W-2s. And I know many of you here are on W-2, which is great. We are going to structure you. So your W-2, most people who are on W-2, they get so annoyed. Why are they annoyed? W-2 means you are an employee for somebody. The thing about W-2 is that you pay taxes before you even see the money. You don't have control over your taxes. You only take the net that is provided to you after Uncle Sam has taken his own, the state has taken their own, then now you get the residue. Most people don't like that. We want to take control of our money. We don't want people just getting into our accounts and taking money. So what happens? What happens with that? So when I have a client who is on W-2, the first thing I want to ask, do they have a 401k? You see the 401k right here? I ask them, do you have a 401k? So you look at this guy here, 401k. Most people who are on W-2, they have a 401k. And when you have a 401k, you see, I've taken it to the right side of the trifecta where you have assets. Because when you vest in your 401k, you have vested in the 401k, that 401k becomes an asset to you. You've already funded it. It's going to create wealth. It's going to be creating you money because it's going to grow gradually. It's in the stock market. There are three things you can invest your 401k in. When you have your 401k being managed by maybe one of those guys, Charles Schwab, whatsoever, all those companies, you can only invest in three things. You can invest in stocks, you can invest in mutual funds, and you can invest in ETFs. Those will tell you they are moving according to the stock market. They will either grow gradually or at times they fall depending on the market. Just 2 weeks ago, we had one of the worst days for 401ks. And most of us who had 401ks, they were in shock because we almost thought that we were going into a recession. So your 401k, you lost your 401k by maybe 10%. And you were like, wow, things are happening. But it didn't, luckily it didn't go that far. But what we're saying is that when you think about those people who are managing your 401k, all these people who are managing your 401k, go and ask about the executives of Charles Schwab, all these companies who are managing your 401k. They make, while you are struggling to get a 2% growth or a 3% growth a year, they are making $60, $70 million a year in terms of income. Why? Because they take your money and then they reinvest it into high yield buckets. The tax code, they won't tell you can do that, but the tax code allows you to do something called self-directing. If you self-direct your 401k, then you too can now invest in high yields. You can now use other people's money to multiply the 401k. Most 99% of the people don't understand that. That is what is in the tax code. So we can basically help you multiply the growth in your 401k. We are not a fiduciary. We are never going to take your money, but we're just going to show you how to self-direct your 401k and then invest in real estate, invest in all those other things that are going to create you value. Now, remember we were talking about W-2. W-2, you don't like it because you don't have control. When people don't have control, the next thing they want to do, they create what? They create one thing that is called, they become a contractor in the business. You become a contractor. When you're a contractor in the business, what are you? You have some form of control. You're called a self-employed. So you just change your status from a W-2 to what they call a 1099. It's called a contractor. When you're a contractor, you have the advantage that you can write off some of your expenses that are related to the business. You have some control because now you can pay the IRS, you can pay the state by yourself. When you were W-2, you didn't have that control. Now you have control. You can write off some expenses that you could not write as a W-2. Now you can also write off, you can also decide when you want to pay taxes. But the big thing here, the problem people quickly get here, this is where most companies fail within the first 3 years, especially fast-growing companies. What happens? Within the first 2-3 years, you realize that your business is growing really fast, and there's something called self-employment tax. Self-employment tax is a killer. It is a killer. So self-employment tax means that in addition to on all whatever you made as profit, in addition to the normal taxes that you ordinarily would pay, there is a 15.3% tax that you have to pay in addition. That is a problem. And we have to help you structure that. Remember structure? The next thing we want to do is when you start making money as a contractor, I want you to record an LLC. Make an LLC and put your assets, put that business into the LLC. But the LLC, because you don't need to create an LLC when you've not started a business. I tell people all the time. People come to me and say, Charles, I want to do this. I want you to create an LLC. I ask you, have you started a business? Unless it's a highly regulated business in America, go there, make the money first. Once you make the money, we can structure you. It's so important because you don't want to use all your money that you have used in building the business, in doing structuring. But once you start making money, you create that LLC and then you create the operating agreement, because those are things that are very important. And then once you do that, if you're making anything over $50,000 net from that business, I want it to be an S Corp. Why do I want an S Corp? I want an S Corp because an S Corp is going to allow you now, we can do what we call compensation study. We do a compensation study for you, and then we can do what we call a dividend salary split. It's dividend salary split. An S Corp is a corporation. You're no longer a self-employed. You belong to a corporation. And that corporation is basically saying that now you are obligated to become an employee of that entity. So the only portion on which you pay self-employment taxes is whatever salary you're taking from that business. And then you can avoid 90% of that income from self-employment taxes. That is a huge place to save on taxes, huge. So you elect to become an S Corp. We do a dividend salary split because we have done a compensation study. We've identified what is a reasonable salary for you. And then you now take the dividend without paying self-employment taxes on it. You save a lot of taxes, $50,000, a lot of taxes you can save on there. But again, we're talking about this left side, which is all operations. The next thing I see many people do is that basically for maybe physician, maybe you're a physician or you are whatever you are, or an IT or whatever you are, you start a business with a partner. When you go into a partnership in America, you come together to do any venture and you're working together. It's called a partnership. Any partnership, any organization where you've come together and you are you're doing business together. You file what you call a 1065. It's called a partnership tax return. That's what we call a 1065. That 1065, because both of you are general partners in the activity. If you are not a general partner, you're called a limited partner. It means you're not actively involved in that entity. If you were a limited partner, your investment would be on the right side of the trifecta. Now, all these structures that we just have here, they are going to be owned not by Samuel, not by George, not by any of you. They are owned by the trusts. Remember, your businesses are now owned by the revocable living trusts. They are not owned by you. They are not owned by Samuel. They are owned by your revocable living trust. Now, so you own the trust. The trust owns everything. The trust is giving you privacy. The trust is giving you able to transfer assets using the trust. So basically, you own the trust, and then the trust owns everything. Now, on the right side of this trifecta, you are creating something called what? You're creating something called holding LLC. It's your holding company. I am sure many of you have heard about holding companies. There are 4 places in America where you can build very strong holding companies. Holding company must not be in the state in which you reside. So when you're creating a holding company, you're looking for anonymity. You don't want your name to be on all websites when they say who owns this property or who owns this company or who owns this. You create a holding company. There are 4 states which are known as the solid states of where you get very strong asset protection laws. You're talking about Delaware, Alaska, Wyoming, and Nevada. Those are the key states where you want to create your holding companies because they have very solid asset protection laws. They are able to keep your identity, and there are other things that are added there. Now, the attorney will talk more about things like that. The other thing you want to do here, this holding company now holds all your assets because wherever you are, you can now hold individual LLCs, all owned by the holding company. So the holding company can own your real estate, your cryptos, your stocks, your land, your farm, and other LLCs. Other LLCs, all your other investments in the different states in which you are, they are all owned by what? Your LL, they are owned by the holding company. And the holding company is owned by who? By your trust. Look at this. So you own the holding company. The holding company owns every other asset, passive activity that you own. And then that asset, those assets are owned. So you own the trust. The trust owns the holding company. The holding company owns the other activities that you own. It's the power of asset protection. That way, you're limiting your exposure to every litigation and things like that. The other thing is that even your home, your personal property, is also owned by what? By the revocable living trust. It's not owned in your name. So you see, all your assets are not in your name. You own the trust owns everything. And then the holding company owns every passive activity, even some of the ordinary activities. The other thing here, for many of us who are parents, we have families, we have people we work with. What do we want to do? We want to create a family management company. Let me tell you the power of the family management. So the power of the family management company, it allows you basically to convert personal expenses that ordinarily you cannot write off. You are able now to convert them into business expenses, and then you can write them off. So your travel, that maybe you were taking a vacation to go maybe to the country of origin. Maybe you are a Chinese, maybe you are a Nigerian, maybe you're a Cameroonian, maybe you're going to Paris, you're going for vacation. Those things which you ordinarily were not able to write off, now you can structure them through your family management company, and then you are able to write off all those personal expenses. That's the power of the family management company. And then you employ your kids. Whenever I talk about employing kids, I feel like that is the biggest bucket that we have been missing over the years. There is something that is available to us to take advantage of. We've never taken advantage of. And I'll tell you about employing kids. That's one of the things I can talk about it more than 100 times. Why? Because that is where we build millions and millions of dollars for our kids. Before they retire, they have millions sitting in their bank account, whereas you didn't do anything different. Anything different. Just because of structure. That's what the wealthy have built. So you build this family management company, and then you are now able to transform some of the expenses here into business expenses, and then you write them off. Now, you see, people like the Trumps, all these wealthy people, they are traveling all around the United States, all around the world using their private jets. Who is paying that bill? You think they're paying the bill? I'm sorry, we are paying the bill. The middle class, those who are not structured, are paying the bill. The government, through taxes, that's why they don't pay taxes. So this is the structure. And the other thing we do, remember this side, the income here pays the highest amount of taxes. Income on this side, on the operations, they pay the highest amount of taxes. The tax rate for incomes on those sides, for federal only, it's about 37% for high income earners, 37%. Here, the taxes on this side, number one, you're able to leverage those taxes because most of these that you own are being worked into, are being managed, are being owned, are being rented to the middle class, to the lower people. They are the ones paying all your taxes. And the type of income you get from here, interest income, dividend income, capital gains income, rental income, those are incomes which in the main pay capital gains taxes. Capital gains taxes for most people is in 15%, even when you are in maybe 37%. So your bracket here, even when you were to pay taxes, they are very low taxes. And 99% of the time, you push those taxes to the people who are renting those properties or who are utilizing those properties, and you are not the person. That is the game. So our game here, and the tax code tells you one thing, which is very important. I'm going to tell you something. So the tax code tells you that you can basically, all these things that are on this side, all these things that are on this side, which are basically bought with other people's money. Remember, when you want to buy real estate, what do? You go and give maybe a 10% down. In some cases, you give 0% down. And then you just write a paper and say, with the title company gives you the right to that property. That property is paid almost 100% by the banks. The banking system is called other people's money. You're using the money of the middle class. You're not using the money of the top 1%. The top 1% don't have their monies in banks. Their monies are in assets. Their money is not in the bank. The middle class put their money in bank. So basically, you get access to the other money, which is the money of the middle class, to basically, you buy those assets with the money of the other people's money, and then they are the ones who are coming to utilize those properties, and then they are paying again for you. They are the ones paying taxes. They are the ones who are going to pay your own tax. You bought this thing on credit with debts. You bought assets on debt, and then the IRS, the tax code tells you that because you've helped build the economy, that's what you call build your own economy. Because you've helped build the economy, you can now take the benefits that accrue to you, which means you can take, even though maybe you bought property or you bought an asset, you bought a machine, you only put maybe 0 or 10% down. They tell you can take the whole of that machine. You put 10% down and you acquired something for 300. Let's say you put 100,000 and you acquired something for $1 million. They tell you that $1 million, you can take the whole of the $1 million, even though you didn't pay anything for it. Bring it on this other side and then come with it. You do something called cost segregation, or you just write off, you take bonus depreciation, all those things, and come and write off all your income that was generated here. And that's how you pay 0 in taxes. See, 0 in taxes. So you can do this and you can do it every year. And then you're buying assets. Anybody who buys assets is wealthy. Wealth is in assets. And then now you don't pay taxes, even though you use the money of the middle class. Now you can take the money and then wipe off all your taxes and then push it back to them. So the government doesn't get money, and then they're looking for more sources from the middle class. Our game is to help you. We basically leverage your money, and we show you how to structure, and we are leveraging and pushing the income that is generated from here that pays all tax. We leverage using other people's money to acquire assets from you. That's why we push them on the other side. And we have over 200 strategies, 300 strategies that we can use to make sure that before the money gets to this 1040, your tax is 0. That is the game of the top 1%. That is the game of the wealthy. That is the game of everyone who is sitting here. And if this makes sense to you, I want to see you say yes. 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 If this is what you're here for, tell me yes. Yes, please. Yes, yes, yes. I need us to be active. Please, please. Thank you. Thank you, Dua. Thank you. Thank you, Smart. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Because I know that this is a game changer. This is the American dream. This is what you can do. You never pay taxes because a third of your income is going to taxes. The only reason you're paying taxes is because you're not building the state of America. You're not building your own economy. Most people say that, oh, you have to pay taxes because by paying taxes, you're being patriotic. There's no patriotism in paying taxes. And the government, the tax code doesn't need your taxes. They need you to build the economy. They need you to employ people. They need you to do this. That's called wealth building. When you build assets, America grows. When you pay taxes, it's used to pay for those who are needing the money. It's useful to pay. The government only has 2 things they pay for: the military. Those are the only people and the few people they have in the government who work for them. But from those, what else do they need money for? They need you to go and build your own economy. That is the main. Do we get on one-on-one individual cases with you? Of course, Dr. Akapo. We're going to talk about that as we go along. So this is your game. Now, the other thing, let's go ahead. So if you are here, this is your game. And this is the game we do for you. This is the game. If you're here, you are struggling with taxes, you have to talk to me because we are going to change your game. We are going to change the game for you.